Welcome back to NC Realtors Redefined, the NC Realtors podcast. On this episode,
I'm pursuing my passion. I'm in the right industry and career, but it's not panning out monetarily in a consistent way that I had anticipated. And what do you do with that?
But first, do you have feedback on a story or topic that you'd like to hear covered on this podcast? Then give us a call at 336-550-4437. When leaving your voicemail, be sure to tell us your name and where you're from. Your comments may be used on a future episode of NC Realtors Redefined.
Hello and welcome to Your Mental Wellness Matters. I'm glad you're joining us today as we dive into the important conversations around mental health and wellness. In this podcast, we'll be chatting with some amazing professionals who are not only experts in their fields, but are also passionate advocates for mental health well-being. Today, we have a fantastic lineup of guests who are doing incredible work. First, let's meet Jenifer Hoffman. She's principal broker and owner of Hoffman Real Estate based in Vermont. Jenifer launched her firm in 2020, right at the start of the pandemic, and is currently the president-elect of the Vermont Association of Realtors. She blends her background in counseling with her real estate expertise, focusing on integrity and client satisfaction. Jenifer has been recognized as the 2021 Vermont Realtor of the Year and has made significant contributions to initiatives like Realtor Wellness. She is also a 2023 NARLA graduate, which is the National Association of Realtors Leadership Academy, and her capstone project was on Realtor Wellness. We are so grateful to have her. She is using her journey to help others, which is truly inspiring. Next up, we have Adrian Williams. Originally from California, Adrian is now the founder and CEO of AWDEI Consulting, based in North Carolina. He's all about promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion. Adrian brings a unique perspective with his background in sociology and counseling psychology. After relocating to North Carolina in 2021, he's been actively serving his community while drawing inspiration from the wise words of Maya Angelou. His dedication to mental health and wellness really shines through in all of his work. Next up, we have Adam Rodell with us today, a proud member of the Orange County Realtors in California. Adam is a co-founder of the Realtor Affiliate Wellness Group. He's also made it his mission to prioritize wellness in real estate. As the 2022 president of Orange County Realtors and the 2018 Realtor of the Year, his leadership in mental health initiatives through the RAW Group emphasizes just how important well-being is in our professional lives. And finally, let's welcome Steve Medeiros. Based in California as well, Steve is a former pastor and founding member of the Realtor Affiliate Wellness Group. He's dedicated to making positive impact in his community. Steve was named the 2024 Bay East Association of Realtors Realtor of the Year and is a respected leader in the NAR RPAC Hall of Fame. Balancing his career with family life, as a husband and grandfather, Steve offers valuable insights on faith, family, and wellness. So I'm excited for you all to hear from these incredible guests today. So let's jump in and discover how your mental wellness truly matters. So, since this is such an important topic, especially considering the unique challenges that real estate professionals face, we're going to kick things off, and I'm going to turn to Adrian and Jenifer first. So, Adrian, I'm going to just ask if you can share a story about a common struggle that you've seen real estate professionals make that might stand out to you.
I think a common struggle is a desire to want more for yourself, right? This is a beautiful industry to be able to offer folks an opportunity to home ownership. And for many, even that feels like a real stretch, especially in today's economy. And this isn't an experience that's very far removed. My sister is a realtor, so I know this struggle very deeply and have seen some of the challenges. One of which it's hard to sell sometimes, and that there are periods of instability, and you wonder, how do I support myself? How do I support my family? Understanding that there's bills due, but you're still very much inspired and called to the work that you're doing to be a realtor and to be in the different spaces, the networking spaces that will offer more opportunities. But again, when you're struggling monetarily, that access becomes a huge barrier. So that is one of the primary challenges I've seen is folks trying to balance the mental health aspect of I'm pursuing my passion, I'm in the right industry and career, but it's not panning out monetarily in a consistent way that I had anticipated. And what do you do with that?
Mm. Yeah, thanks. Thank you for that. And I want to just go back a little bit and ask you, what made you want to focus in this area? What was your impetus for that?
Yeah, it felt like a real calling for me. Even early in my life, I had an opportunity to shadow a family member who's a psychologist in a client session. And I loved the masterful way that you're able to hold a mirror up to someone to help them see themselves more clearly. And when you can see yourself more clearly, what can you do in your community? And what can you do in your career? Right? But before we get to the byproduct of impacting everyone else, the greatest impact you can have is truly within yourself first.
Thank you so much. Jenifer, is there anything you wanted to add to that? I know you have a background in counseling. Is there anything that you wanted to add in terms of struggle that you've seen in the industry that might have sparked something in you to head in that direction?
Sure. I mean, I think that the challenges that agents and, we are in the field every single day dealing with the stresses that our clients are facing, right? They're going through an emotional roller coaster often, whether that's because of the D's, death and divorce, which are very common for how we end up getting a listing. And then you also have the joys, the highlights of life, like people having a baby or getting married and buying their first home. And so, we then take on, a lot of us are empaths, and we take on the emotions that our clients are feeling. And some people just have a really hard time processing all of those feelings, the highs and the lows. And then they need their own outlets for how to cope with all those big feelings. And as someone who's only been sober for my entire real estate career, I already had coping skills and I learned how to deal with those feelings. But I can certainly understand that people who have not had a counseling background or a recovery background have really had a hard time adapting to that. Plus, then you've got, like Adrian was mentioning, the financial challenges, the roller coaster ride of instability, especially for a newer realtor or anytime we're going through a market shift. And we've certainly had a lot of those in the last few years. So helping agents to understand that they have to put themselves, at the top of their ticket. They can't just put their clients' needs first and put themselves all the way on the back burner to the point where they get burned out. And that they also have to build smart financial strategies to be able to ride out the waves of the highs and lows of the markets.
So, can I take that a little further with you, Jenifer, if you don't mind? So, how do you think the pressures of the industry shape the way agents view their mental health and wellness?
I think that for a lot of agents, there's this ego feeding proposition, that when the market's good, we've got to make it all look good and easy and, ride high. And whether that's going out and getting a nice new suit or a nice new car. And the reality is that some deals fall apart in the 11th hour, sometimes after months and months and months of work. Or you are just going through a personal crisis in your life, either a health issue yourself or someone that you love, or something as serious as a death in the family. And when you're struggling with those issues or sort of the outside issues of your personal life and still trying to show up as a professional, it becomes this masquerade of, how do I show up for work, and put on a strong face like I've got all my stuff together. And yet I might be silently dying inside and really struggling to figure out where to go from here. So I think that those pressures of needing to make it look good on the outside is really the death knell for a lot of realtors. During my NARLA capstone project on realtor wellness, I was shocked and really very upset to learn that real estate agents are actually the number 5 profession in terms of suicide risk. That we have a very high rate of suicide among realtors because there is this public facing side of what we do and needing to pretend like everything's okay and that we can't be honest among our community or our peers of what's really going on. So we need to do better about making it okay for people to be honest when they're struggling.
So, do you think there's a day-to-day impact or a day-to-day influence on how agents are making their decisions regarding their well-being? Whimsical, having a plan. What are you seeing from the people that you connect with of kind of coping and dealing with that stress or pressure?
I feel like we're kind of in two totally different camps. There are those realtors like myself who have great routines and great self-care, whether it's, getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night, not drinking or not drinking to excess, eating a healthy diet, working out every day, reaching out to other people when we need a friend and we need to sort of bounce something off of someone, taking a walk, getting outdoors, whatever uh, that pressure relief valve, whatever that needs to be for you in order to maintain a healthy status quo. And then I think there's others that just are lacking in that, and they are really struggling to find their footing and how to deal with what really truly can be a roller coaster. I keep saying that word, but the market can whip us around and give us whiplash sometimes where you think everything's going okay and then all of a sudden it's not. So I do think the agents who are struggling to find a way forward, to find a stable status quo in their life. Maybe that seems boring to people, but I assure you it's not. This is the easier, softer way to have good discipline and to learn to ride the waves with a lot more dignity and grace. And we're here to help that. I think that that's the point of this podcast. Appreciate you putting this together, Tacola, so that we can try to help offer some resources and let people know that they're not alone.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for that. And the perspective is super valuable. Let's get into something a little more personal, if you will. Adrian and or Jenifer, whoever feels like they want to jump in. How can someone recognize when they're feeling overwhelmed? And what's a good first step to take for anyone that might be feeling that? Adrian, if you can jump in first, that would be great.
Sure. My initial thought is to trust your body. Body will tell you, right? And I think some people have experiences in their body that they discount simply to age or to the aging of our bodies, right? So that crook in your neck or that pain in your back, perhaps that might be old age. However, or aging processes, right? But if you're really paying attention to the stressors in your body, you'll notice the tightness in your chest, the racing of your heart, the sweating in your hands, right? I think sometimes some people also report, discomfort in their digestive system. I just want people to pay more attention to the experiences that they're having in their body. So if you're noticing that you're having tightness in your chest, or your stomach is hurting, or your back has this particular pain every day at a particular time, or there's whatever the sensations, those are usually indications. I think Jenifer raised a wonderful point about, are you observing your rest periods? How much sleep are you getting and what is the quality of your sleep? Are you able to retain food? Do you have an appetite at all? These are some of the observations that your body is letting you know that your stress levels might have exceeded your capacity levels. And at that point, we might be thinking about, what does support or care look like now? Not just for recovery, but to restore, as I think Jenifer said so more eloquently, a better baseline or a status quo for yourself, right? And so mental health is really a barometer of that status quo. How are you feeling when you wake up in the morning? Sometimes we try to think about our situations in comparison to other folks, right? Someone else has it bad. That is always going to be true. And also, the way that you are feeling and what you're experiencing in your body is valid and legitimate all its own. It doesn't need a comparison to be justified, to be
Mhm.
noted as important. And so, if you're waking up and you're like, there's a heaviness in my heart I just can't explain, and it just doesn't feel like I've been able to shake it. It's been a couple of weeks or it's been a couple of months. That alone is enough to say, you know what, that's worthy of help.
Hmm. Mic drop.
Mhm.
Yes, absolutely. How many times do we discount our bodies, which
Mhm.
is the very first thing that we should be listening to? I'm going to jump over to Jenifer, if you will. So, what do you think is a common misconception about mental health and wellness that you wish people understood a little bit better?
Sure. And actually, before I answer that, I want to add a little bit because I thought Adrian
Sure.
really hit very eloquently about the physical reactions and just trying to
Mhm.
be more mindful and paying attention to what our bodies are telling us. And I think that if we also look at our behavior, if you find that you are doom scrolling every night before bed for an hour and just, letting social media kind of take over your psyche as you're supposed to be unwinding and unplugging from technology, ideally those last couple hours before bed, recognize that that's probably not a healthy behavior. So if you find that you're not getting good sleep, you've got to change your sleep hygiene and create better habits around that. Uh, so as far as a misconception about mental health that I wish that people understood better,
Mhm.
I think that there's this idea that the stigma of mental health being for crazy people, right? These awful labels that we attach to mental health.
Yeah.
It's for like those people. And we all have this kind of us versus them. Oh, I don't want to be labeled as one of those people who need to work on my mental health or that I need to seek counseling. I'm fine. There's this real defensiveness
Yes.
that it doesn't apply to me. And in reality, it applies to everyone. Just like we all have our physical health, we all have our mental health. And so just because you use the word mental health, let's really please try to work on taking that stigma away. Health is wealth, and that applies to both your physical and your mental well-being. So I really would love for people to think about mental health as for everyone.
For sure. That's a great point. So we're going to shift a little bit back to Adrian and talk about your practice and if there is a time or an event or a moment that you saw a breakthrough with a client or a colleague or someone that you'd been working with on their journey, and what did that look like and how did that make you feel?
I am not a licensed therapist, but in my traineeship, I did have an opportunity to provide therapy under someone else's supervision. But I think the most beautiful breakthrough I've had in therapy has been with myself, right? And as I
Mhm.
opened and started, I shared with folks, it starts with you first. So for me to be able to do the work individually for myself, to have health has impacted my life in such a way where I'm able to now be in these spaces and share with others what I have learned, what I'm still actively learning, and in what I'm working towards, right? Because there is no end to this. This is a marathon for life. It's the commitment to lifelong myself. Just in the same ways I would apply that to lifelong practices of learning in general to better understand how our world changes and how my understanding of that has to evolve as we all do. So I think for me, it's the breakthrough has been to hold the mirror up to myself and to be willing to be vulnerable and honest and accountable with myself for the areas for growth for me. And the impact and the consequence of that is to be able to now pour from a full cup back to community, back to my clients that I work with in my business, to be able to give presentations like these and podcasts and other speaking engagements, to folks, to let them know that it's okay to name the name of the thing, that it won't hurt us to speak it out loud, that there's actually healing a part of it, and that healing is truly afforded to everyone, if you're willing to show up for you. So I think, as inspirational as it has been to be a part of other people's journey, in my traineeship, in my professional endeavors as a business owner, the best part is that I can live the things that I talk about.
Awesome. Jenifer, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, so as far as mental health supports, even though I've been on a journey of recovery myself for a long time, and I too have gone through therapy, and I was also a trainee as a therapist. I have a master's in counseling, and that background was extremely helpful for me to become a real estate agent, because we deal with, like I said, some of the highest highs and lowest lows in people's lives.
Yeah.
And so being able to be an emotional support realtor for my clients is really important. And recognizing that they're all going through different things for different reasons and at different times and cycles in their life. So I am just one person who may have one suggestion that hopefully helps somebody, but we're not doctors here. We can just be the source of the source. And I too am learning, like Adrian beautifully explained, how to continue to work on myself so that I can bring my best self forward for everyone that I encounter. Things like self-help books, I've read, lots of them over the years. One I want to plug, called "You Are a Badass" by Jen Sincero. It's a great book, and she has a whole line of books that play on that theme. And for me, that really helped get through some imposter syndrome, as well as really just coming to feel confident in myself, that I haven't come this far to only come this far, and that there's a purpose for me in this world, and I have a voice, and I'm going to choose to use it and not be ashamed of my past, and hopefully it does help someone else. Also want to just make a plug for meditation. That's something that I added to my morning routine in the last week, and already I am feeling more calm and more centered. And it never ceases to amaze me that, even when you get down quiet for 10 minutes and you follow a simple meditation, which is just so powerful, the tears can start to flow. You might think you are totally cool, like you have nothing pressing going on in your life. And then all of a sudden you get really quiet and you get still and you realize it allows things to bubble to the surface. I can be a human doing rather than a human being. And when I just get quiet into being just who I am and be still, things still surface that maybe I hadn't even realized. I was just staying so busy, I didn't acknowledge what other new things were on the horizon. So it doesn't matter how far you are on this journey. Maybe it's day one, maybe it's day 12,000. But if you recognize that there's still room for improvement, and don't ever shut the door on those opportunities that might help you, I think that that's a really important understanding we all need more support all the time.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome. Two things both of you said, speak it out loud, and removing the stigma. There is a major stigma associated with mental health and wellness. And some people are ashamed, afraid, scared even to say, I need help, or I don't feel so great, or maybe I don't know what I'm feeling, but I need somebody to help me kind of sort these things out. And it kind of brings me to the airplane when they say, put on your mask first and then you can help others.
Mm-hmm.
And what you both said was you've worked on yourselves first, which is why you're able to do the amazing work that you're doing today. So that's kudos to everybody on this podcast. And I know Jenifer spoke about some resources, and I'm going to just kind of chime back in with that. If there are any resources that that either of you would like to kind of throw out there for anyone that might want something. You mentioned meditation, you mentioned self-help. What are there any others that you could kind of pinpoint that might help someone?
I'm a big advocate for exercising every day. I think
Mm,
that getting your body moving is such an incredibly natural, healthy way to turn things around. I learned a long time ago in a 12-step group, move a muscle, change a thought. And
right.
that saying has helped me out through many a tough moment where, you can kind of get stuck in your head and things are perseverating and you're obsessing about something. And you just got to get out there and move your body a little bit. And, we naturally then start to release dopamine. And as a middle-aged woman, I've got cortisol flowing through my veins with the stress of my job all the time. So I've got to find healthy ways to work through all those hormonal changes happening and let that stress go. And so for me, physical exercise every single day is a non-negotiable.
Both of you mentioned moving. I'm an avid mover myself, so I'm with you on that. And you also mentioned moving so much that you're not able to check in with yourself, right? So understanding kind of the dichotomy between what those two things are,
Mhm.
and when you're going, so you don't have to feel, or when you have to move so that you can keep your blood pumping and keep yourself feeling alive. So thank you so much for that. And resources are super important. Along with, you also mentioned reaching out for help. So thanks so much for sharing that, Adrian and Jenifer. We're going to kind of shift over to Adam and Steve. So, Adam, what inspired you to create the Realtor Affiliate Wellness Group? And what has your experience been like on that journey?
First of all, I want to thank you, Tacola, for, again, bringing this podcast forward to your association. And I want to just say thank you again to Adrian, Jenifer, and Steve in advance for their contribution to this podcast, because the information that they're sharing is absolutely powerful and spot on. So again, I'm very grateful to them. The Realtor Affiliate Wellness Group really is the byproduct of my own journey as well in recovery. As a realtor and a top producing realtor for 27 years, I've had the opportunity to see what goes on within our industry. And I also want to basically bring our affiliate community into the conversation as well here, because, our affiliates are an extension of the family. And quite honestly, I think their trajectory and what they experience is very, very similar to what the realtors are experiencing. And so, as Jenifer had mentioned, we have the ups and we have the downs in this business. And I liked what she said, on those up markets where things were all going good, I had a lot of colleagues living beyond their means. I mean, they were spending like the money was never going to end. And when the market turned, they were absolutely just brutalized. And some of them made it through that particular meat grinder, if you will, and I saw a lot of colleagues vaporize out of our business. And of course, the new agents that are coming in are going to experience the same things. They're going to experience the highs, they're going to experience the lows. And I just knew, because of my experience in recovery, that there's hope, and there's a way to carry a message of hope to others that are out there, not just in that community, but into my own industry as well. And so it took a little bit of courage to bring this concept forward. But at some point, I had to do this. And this was sort of tied into me running for a second term on our board of directors. Again, my wife and I are very productive agents, and time is limited. And I had to have a why as to why I was going to continue serving on our board of directors at our association. And of course, all the advocacy work that goes on at the state and national levels with that I've been a part of for quite a while. And so I did bring this concept forward at our association, and it was received so beautifully by the 24 directors. And this was in October of 2018 that this was brought forward. And the RAW group has now been in existence officially since January of 2019. We've had our meetings at our association monthly, every month since then. And the beautiful part about this is We're giving a place, a safe, judgment-free space for realtors and affiliates to be able to come in, take their mask off. As Jenifer indicated, we need to have a space where we can be us and we can be vulnerable. And this is exactly what we were striving for, and this is exactly what we're doing.
Awesome. Steve, would you like to add to that?
Well, it's interesting because Adam had this idea, and he and I talked about it before there even was a name for Raw. And the overriding feeling that we both had when we talked about it is that, wow, this is something our members need. And I'm listening to Adrian and Jen and everyone talk about denial, really is what it is. People in our industry are just in denial because of that customer facing facade we put on. We have a joke around my house because of this. When my wife asks me how I'm doing, oh, I'm fine.
All right.
And I say the same thing. How you doing, sweetie? I'm fine. And we know that it's a joke because we know we're not. And my background too comes from recovery. Everything I am today is because of recovery. All the foundational things that I learned early in recovery has made my life what it is now. It's how I get through every day. But I also have the other background. I was a pastor and I started recovery groups at my church. My degree's in psychology. I was a drug and alcohol counselor. I've done all those things. And still what it all boils down to is the personal relationships you have with people. And one of the things I do with Raw is when I'm promoting it, and I've kind of become the chief promoter with Raw. Me and Adam are out there doing it all the time. But I got more involved a couple years ago when Adam had to back out of our directorship at CAR for a while. And so I took the ball and ran. And we've just had a lot of fun expanding it. But when I'm out there talking about it, I try to make it more of a support group and not recovery, although that's what Adam and I kind of thought it was going to be, and it's turned out not to be, which is okay. I try to throw some humor in there to get people to realize it's okay. See, that's the biggest problem we have. We got to get our members to realize, hey, it's okay. It's okay to get in a room with some people that you can trust and you're safe with, and you can just vent. And that's what it's all about. And I'll get more into some of my techniques as we get further into the call.
Sure. So, one thing that you both mentioned is it's okay. It's okay. Some real estate firms actually, when realtors, no A, when realtors begin, you're taught to say, "How's business?" "Oh, it's great." Even though they haven't had a transaction yet, even though they may not have anything to support their family with, they're taught and conditioned to say, everything's fine, business is great. So that facade can be, well, for lack of a better word, a little dangerous. It's teaching you to suppress what's really going on. So I am really grateful that you have all really said that it's okay to take the stigma away from not being okay. And one thing I wanted to also touch on is that you all have included staff in being welcome to join the Realtor and Affiliate Wellness Group. And I think that's amazing to be able to welcome that space, because I feel like staff sometimes is put over there and not included. However, they're going through some of the same things as realtors are as well. So I'm going to kick it to Jenifer as an ally, maybe not a co-founder of the group, but you are a major supporter, which is how I found out about the Raw group through Narla. And I attended, and it just blew my socks off that there was such an amazing supportive unit of people that we're all in the same space with zero judgment, supporting one another. So tell me your experience being a supporter of this amazing group.
Yeah, I was at that meeting where you got, I think, your first dose of raw, and it is a very powerful thing to witness. As someone who has been a member of 12-Step Fellowship for the last 22 plus years, I am very comfortable in a support group. I am very comfortable sharing my feelings, my experience, strength, and hope. And um, I learned a long time ago that I can't save my face and save my butt at the same damn time. Someone taught me that in a 12-step meeting, and I've held on to that for a long, long time because that's true. When it feels like things are on fire and I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it through to the other side, I go to a meeting. That's where I get my strength, is by being vulnerable and by being honest and telling people where I'm at, because I've learned through experience that I'm going to be held, that people are going to hold me together and tell me what it is I need to hear. And that's just how the magic happens. Like, I can't script it. I can't tell you who's going to say what they're going to say, how many people are going to be there. But just by the grace of God, it just magically works. And that's been beautiful to witness at the Raw meetings I've attended, both the Zoom meeting that happens nationally a couple times a year, as well as the in-person meetings I get to do when we are together for NAR, NXT, and the Realtors legislative meetings in DC. And I love that you mentioned about staff, because there were several staff members there, and they had very powerful experiences. I think they all probably went in there thinking, I'm not going to share, I'm just going to listen, like most newcomers do. And by the time it got around the room to them, their opportunity to speak, the floodgates opened. And that's where the magic happens. Once you hear other people being honest and vulnerable, you realize I can be honest and vulnerable. And that's such a miracle to witness. And people talk about everything and anything, as opposed to a recovery group that is specific about alcohol or drug addiction or sex addiction or gambling or Overeaters Anonymous. There's all these different kind of siloed programs out there where that's all you're really supposed to talk about. In Raw, it's an open playing field. So you can talk about your financial stress or taking care of your parents or raising young children or having kids with disabilities or clients who make you want to rip your hair out. Whatever it is, like, it's just fair game to talk about all of it. And so it's been really beautiful to witness both of my worlds colliding, the recovery and 12-step side of things, the open sharing and the healing that happens there, with my friends in the real estate world, both staff and realtors and affiliates. So I am extremely grateful to Steve and Adam for creating this program so that I can be an ally and I can get the support that I need on my journey through my realtor career.
I think we're all thankful to the two of you, because who would ever think when you're on the road at a conference that there is a safe space to go to with people that just want to be in a place where they can share or not and feel supported without judgment. That's the most important, that there's no judgment in that space, and everyone's there for support. I'm going to jump to, if you will, Adam, and ask you if there is anything that you've learned about yourself through this work.
Absolutely. Before I jump on that question, I want to just kind of take a step back, because from the inception of the Raw group, I absolutely didn't believe that this concept would grab traction at the state or national level. In fact, I thought that the higher up this concept went, the more reluctant our realtor and affiliate community would be, particularly at the state and national level, to walk into a room and to allow themselves to be vulnerable and to share openly. And it's been absolutely the opposite of what I expected. And so, Jenifer, you and Tacola have both witnessed what happens inside the realtor and affiliate wellness group meetings at the national level. And of course, Steve and I have witnessed what happens at our state meetings. And, it is a beautiful thing to behold. And I just hope that more affiliates and realtors will walk through those doors. And as far as the staff is concerned as well, everybody's welcome. Again, as long as you're respecting the confidentiality of those that are in the room, we welcome everybody. And as Jenifer said, this is not an issue specific program or concept. There are some elements of the 12-step program that we brought into the raw group, but there's a lot of things that the 12-step groups offer to their members that aren't a part of what we do here. And there's another element to the raw group that we haven't discussed yet, and that is that on the local level, the associations provide resource information for free to their members. And that was the other point to doing the raw group, was to be able to allow our members and who come to a raw meeting to be able to walk out of that meeting with resource material that could help them maybe find their own tribe out there on the brick. So whether it is Alcoholics Anonymous or an alcohol issue, or it's a health crisis issue, or maybe it's suicidal ideation, whatever the arena is that they may be challenged with, we want to have resource information that can allow them to find help on the outside. And that is a big pillar of what we do at the Realtor and Affiliate Wellness Group. For me, because of my background in recovery, and that's 27 years, I have never had a mind-altering substance in my body since the day I became a realtor 27 years ago. So I've felt every high, I've felt every low. We live life on life's terms. And, starting the raw group, I again had some trepidation. I didn't know where this was going to go. And as I presented it to our board, I said, this is going to go where it's going to go. What I've learned a lot about myself is that I can't do this alone, for starters. I have to remind myself that I can't be alone, and I don't want to be alone. And sometimes I feel like I have to do everything myself. I'm the only one that I can trust. And so I have found that my ability to trust, not just in folks like Steve and Jen on the call today, but also the people that are in the room with me. We have a great deal of accountability session work that we do in our local associations meetings now, where we're making each of us individually make a certain commitment to the group. And for me right now, I'm really trying to work on journaling in gratitude. For me, that is something that is just, I'm a gym rat. I have a very clean world of eating, but the one thing I can't do is get into gratitude very easily for some reason. And so I'm really working hard on that. And, so I found that I have weaknesses. I have chink in my armor. But I also have a place where I can go and be honest about it. And that surprises me, because when I came into recovery, when I came into this business, you don't want anybody to see any weakness. You don't want to see anybody to know that you have vulnerabilities. I'm out there competing hard at high levels, and I'm blessed to be able to take that mask off and be comfortable doing it.
Wow, awesome. Question. You said that you didn't know that it would take off so fiercely at the state and national levels, the Raw Group. Is there anything that you or Steve have trepidation about, or a little fear about it growing really quickly, or anything of that nature? Do you have anything in that arena that you'd like to share, where everybody might, we want to do it here, we want to do it there? What is your feeling on that, your thought process there?
I see Steve smiling, so I'm going to let Steve lead off on this one first.
Sure thing, Steve.
Well, I am smiling because I think he knows what I'm going to say. We've been very blessed. In fact, I say it all the time. I'm too blessed to stress, and I believe it. We all are. But one of the things that we've found is that of late, that it's growing so fast, and people are so interested in starting their own raw chapters in either their state or local levels, that we have people out there starting groups and they don't know what materials we have, what resources we provide. And every time we see an email, I'll get an email, and Adam and I are always on the same loop. Have you heard from this person? Have you heard from this person? I don't know this person. Do you know this person? Because what happens is, as you guys realize, like the story that Jen told, I met you both in DC at NAR at a meeting of RAW that I was the facilitator.
That's
And the
right.
staff people, it was one of my personal great God moments where the staff people came up and talked to me before the meeting and said, we're just going to observe. So, because we
Mm.
don't have issues. And I said, well, oh, hey, perfect. Okay, come on in. And then when they got in, they're human beings. We're all human beings, right?
That's
So we
right.
all have issues. But I'm assuming Adam realizes that's what I was laughing about, that we're so blessed that people are so interested in this program that now it's getting to the point where it's getting hard to coordinate with all the people that want to do this and get them the information that they really do need to be successful. Because there's really an art form to making this thing work. And Adam touched on a little bit of it. You can't do it by yourself.
Right.
You need a core group, and you need all the resources and all the things that Adam has created and with staff at Orange County that we provide to people. In fact, we call it raw in a box, and we
Mm.
send you everything we have that we use to run our local meetings. So yeah, that's what I that's what I was laughing about. That we are embarrassment of riches right now, and we want it to. Adam and I have done panels at the state level and at the national level. In Houston, we're doing one, and those things have helped to promote, and they've never not been well received. People go to one of the panels, they hear about Raw, they want in, and that's a blessing. That's a blessing for this program. And Adam's the one that did all the heavy lifting. I say that a lot. I just happened to be there in the beginning, and I say this a lot. Adam's the man. He's Batman, and I'm Robin. That's kind of how we go. We're Batman and Robin, and we're a good team. And we met by chance uh, at a Friends of Bill W. meeting in California, and have become best friends and partners. And it was a God moment that obviously my creator had a plan for me that included Adam and now all of you.
Absolutely. That's what I was going to say. The reason we all crossed paths was it could be for this moment, it could be for more, but the fact that we did for the greater good is simply amazing. So it just feels great to know that there are people here, one, willing to share their journeys, because a lot of people are very protective of that and don't want to share that.
Can
So
I add one more thing?
absolutely, please do.
I've had this conversation with Adam many times.
Sure.
And I have said, you know what, Adam, if we were pushing Raw to help ourselves to get somewhere we want to be, to pad our whatever the reason is, it would
Mm.
have zero success. Raw is bigger than all of us. That's why
Mhm.
it is so in need right now and so wanted by people. It's not because Adam, oh yeah, I'm the founder. I'm the founder. Look at me. Look at me. It's nothing like that. It's nothing like that.
I
He
I think you're
created
right,
this to
Steve.
help our members, and that's what Raw does. It helps our members, and it's not about us. It's about them.
When I found Adam through the channels, and got his number and called him, he's like, "How did you find me?" So I totally vouch for you. He was not looking for accolades and pats on the back. It felt like he was supposed to be a secret tucked away in the back room somewhere. So he was not doing this to get famous or to get all of our undying gratitude, but he has it. And I think that our paths did cross due to a greater higher power, so that Tacola and I could help bring this over from the West Coast to the East Coast and help you represent countrywide.
Oh,
Amen.
yes. Oh, yes, absolutely. There's no East Coast, West Coast beef over here. We're
No.
one big happy family. So I love it. You've kind of all shared minimally about what you've learned about yourself and how you cope with promoting your stress. Is there anything you talked about working out, you talked about reading, you talked about self-help, and you all have been on some amazing journeys. There are people that could only pray that they could be as consistent as you all are. Does it get hard? Has it gotten hard? And what do you do to shift yourself when you feel it getting difficult? And if that's only answer if you feel comfortable answering that question. Jenifer, do you feel comfortable?
Sure. I mean, I feel like the question of, how do you cope with stress?
Mm-hmm.
That alone could be a 2-hour podcast, but
Sure.
to try to keep it simple, one of you said something about, having a trust circle, or something along those lines. And I used to think when I was younger that I wasn't successful or didn't have friends because I wasn't like in the big popular group, right? That there was some feeling of like, I'm not good enough because I don't have 10 girlfriends to invite over to a slumber party. But I've learned and accepted and embraced as I've gotten older that I don't need to have a huge tribe of people. I just need one or two people that I can call on when things get tough. And, for me, where I am in my life today, a lot of that does fall on my husband, who is also sober. We're walking the same, beautiful journey of recovery together. That's where we met. And my mom luckily is still alive, and she's my best friend, and now she lives right next door, so I can always just go and have a cup of coffee with her and watch the sunset, which is amazing. But then I also have people like Adam and Steve or other friends that I've met all across the country. It doesn't have to be people in my backyard. The more that I have gotten out of myself and I've gotten involved in service on a wider reaching basis, I realize that I can let my hair down because now I have a best friend who lives in Idaho. And I don't have to worry about what she thinks about, if I'm personally struggling. It's not going to affect my deal. I'm not calling a colleague where we're on both sides of a transaction. So that really has been huge for me. It's just all about relationships and growing that network and truly learning who I can trust. I have definitely made some mistakes and trusted people who are not trustworthy, people who have proven to be snakes in my life. But I see them today for who they are. And, that's just my trusting nature that I've worked so much on myself that I forget that not everybody is honest and being straightforward with me. So I'm still a little naive. But I lick those wounds and I move on. I don't allow anything to keep me down. I think that that's a huge part of my toolbox is recognizing that I'm not ever being anchored down by anything that's stressful that's happening. It's a choice. I can choose to drop that rock at any point and just move on. So the deal fell through. Okay, what's coming up tomorrow? Focus on the positive. Whatever we look at gets bigger. So if I am focusing on everything that's going wrong, my problems look huge. And if I'm focusing on the gratitude, I love that Adam brought that up. If I'm focusing on all the good things in my life, then my cup overfloweth and I have nothing to complain about.
Adam, did you want to chime in on that?
Jenifer is such a spark plug. I'm so glad she's on the call. I get charged just by hearing her speak. I don't know. Listen, the gifts that I've received in the last 27 years are innumerable, and they all have a place in my heart. The most important thing that I think that I would love to make sure that we get from this call is that we're sharing a message to our realtor and affiliate community that they don't have to be alone, regardless of what their challenge is. And again, we may have had a few things that we thought the Raw group was going to kind of be catering to in the beginning, like Steve mentioned. But, we touch on everything. We see everything from both the substance abuse issues, which, again, tend to go into the background a little bit more at my association, but the health crisis, the Al-Anon world, which is where we have family members who may be suffering from various substance abuse issues. Everything from Overeaters Anonymous and eating disorders, which, by the way, I'm not too ashamed to admit that I have a diagnosed eating disorder as well, which, again, I've found a lot of healing and a way out from that as well. There's no limit to what gets shared inside of these rooms. And as long as there's a place for our membership to go and talk to each other, and got to remember, we as realtors and affiliates understand what we're going through. I think this is part of the message that may be missed a little bit right here. We know that there's outside sources, there's outside places that our membership can go. And this happens to be one of the bigger roadblocks that we've run into over the last 7.5, 8 years with introducing RAW at various associations. We typically run into two concerns. One would be the liability. The association says, well, this is a beautiful idea, but there's basically a bunch of places they can go out there and go get help, right? And then there's the confidentiality matter, which, listen, the people that walk through those rooms are beautiful people. We really genuinely are supportive of each other. And if it's not for you, then you just don't come through the door. There's nothing we can do about that. We do honor our confidentiality, and we've never had a problem with any type of exposure by any member who's ever walked through that door at my association or any of the other associations that are now offering the chapters. But we are uniquely qualified to understand and support each other. You may be married to somebody who's not in this industry. And this was the example that I gave when I presented this to our board. Let's just say hypothetically that I have one transaction in escrow right now, and my family is counting on this escrow closing to pay the bills. And I just got the phone call from the buyer's agent who tells me that their buyer is backing out and canceling escrow. And now I have to, endure this moment where my heart starts racing, because I'm going to have to talk to my spouse. I'm going to have to tell them, honey, the money's not coming. I don't know how we're going to pay the rent this month. I don't know how the car payment's going to get paid. I mean, this is something that is just so scary for our membership. And who else would best understand this than somebody who's walked through this path before, who's walked this road before? I can't tell you how many different types of situations that our members have walked through over the 7-year period. And it's an incredible journey, and they make it through, and they become the source of light for the next person who walks through that door who's going through the exact same thing. And we can be there to help them walk through that too. So I don't know if that really answered your question or not, but I just want to make sure that the essence of what the Realtor and Affiliate Wellness Group is doing is transmitted to your listeners, so that they understand that this is there for them if they choose to take advantage of it.
Join us for part 2 of our conversation on the next episode of NC Realtors Redefined.